welcome to another video on the Parsha. So I have two subjects I'd like to speak about this week, Parshas Mikeitz. The first subject I'd like to speak about is Pharaoh's dreams, Yosef's interpretation to Pharaoh's dreams, and Yosef's advice to Pharaoh. The second thing I'd like to speak about is Yosef's brothers coming to Yosef and Yosef remembering his dreams and what that means exactly, and we'll see their different opinions. I'm mainly going to be going on the Ramban and the Malbim, and we're going to bring a little bit of Rashi in also. So it was after 2 years, Pharaoh dreamt, and behold, so it was after 2 years of the last thing that happened, which was that the ministers of Pharaoh sinned to Pharaoh, and the interpretations that Yosef gave to their dreams came true. So and the Sar Hamashkin, the one who was the who served the wine and all of that, got let loose, and Yosef asked him to remember him. He didn't remember him. So 2 years after this, Pharaoh dreamt, and behold, he was standing on the Ya'ar, and the Ya'ar means a river. We'll see the different explanations, but simply it means the river, and over here it's referring to the Nile River, which was where all the abundance of Egypt came. Now you can look on a map, but you'll see around the Nile, all over the place, that you have small channels, ditches, or that they bring water to. And that's what they would do in the olden days, especially. Nowadays they maybe have a little bit more advanced, but you could see it's still the same idea. And they pull water from the Nile, and that's how they water their gardens and all that. You could see a big vast area around the Nile is all fertile and green. And so that was where the abundance and all the food and everything of Yosef, of Egypt came. So behold, he was standing on the Nile, which was represented where all the everything, all the wealth and everything of Egypt came, or the abundance of Egypt. And behold, from the Vehinei min hayar lo sheva Pharos, 7 cows came up, Yafos mara over Yos basar, good at appearance, and they're very big, strong, and a lot of meat. Vatirena ba'achu, and they started eating in the grass around the river. The Ramban says that the grass on the river bank is called achu. So they started eating that. Then behold, and behold, another 7 cows came up after them, min hayar, from the river. Bad of appearance and thin of meat, but very, very skinny, bad looking, not very right. And they stood by the other cows on the edge of the river. Now realize they didn't start grazing in the grass. The first cow started grazing, the second cows didn't graze. So so the cows, bad cows, skinny looking cows and all of that, they ate the cows, the good cows and big, good appearance, the ones that look good to appearance, and Pharaoh woke up. Now we're going to see he dreamt another dream, but we have to analyze the dream a little bit now before we get into the Mepharshim. We have to see some basic things. I mentioned one of the points is the first cows grazed, the second cows didn't graze. In other words, the first fat cows and all of that, there's going to be abundance. The second cows, there's not going to be anything to eat. And the Ramban says that what are the second cows going to eat? They are going to eat the first cows. And we're going to see later in the interpretation. So what would that mean? That would mean that how are we going to live? We're going to live Egypt in the 7 years of famine. We're going to live off of the abundance of the first years, because they're going to eat the fat cows. So basically there's a lot of grass and everything, and there's a bunch of abundance the first 7 years. The second 7 years, there's not going to be anything. But the way you're going to survive, the way Egypt was going to survive, was through eating the cows of the years of abundance. In other words, eating the food. Now, Pharaoh had the same dream with wheat, similar. which makes us sense in wheat because it doesn't swallow one. The wheat can't really swallow, but it's a dream. Now let's just see a few points the Ramban has over here. One of the things the Ramban says about the thin cows standing by the big cows, to tell you that they're going to be right by each other, and that one's going to happen right after the other, meaning that while the big cows are still there, the thin cows are going to come. In other words, right at the end of the years of abundance, the years of famine are going to come, and there's not going to be a separation or a time in between them. So, and Vatochalna, the cows eating the other cows. The Ramban says, according to my opinion, it's a siman that the years of the famine will eat the years of abundance. And from here, Yosef learned to give advice to Paro. Because as we'll see later on, and we'll go on to it right now, because we'll go on to it even though we're going to go back to explain the Malbim a little bit. After Yosef interprets Paro's dreams, he says like this: Yireh Paroi, Paro should see v'efkei pekidim. Yaseh Paroi, Paro should do v'efkei pekidim ala aretz. Well, first, v'atayirei Paroi, Paro should look to find a man who's wise and navon. Chacham v'navoin v'shisel, and he should make him in charge of the land of Egypt. And Ya'aseh Paro should cause to happen v'afked, and this man should appoint pekidim, ministers, v'chimeshes ha'aretz, and they should take a fifth from the abundance of the land of Egypt, and the years of abundance, and they should gather all the food. And we'll see. I would like to explain the Malbim's explanation of this, but Yosef gave advice to Paro. Why did Yosef give advice to Paro? Did Paro make him an advisor? So the Ramban says, no, Paro didn't make him an advisor, but Yosef saw this as part of the interpretation of the dream. Part of the interpretation was the thin cows ate up the thick cows. In other words, the dream was telling you how to survive. The skinny cows are going to eat up the fat cows. So what did Yosef have to tell Paro? Yosef had to tell Paro the interpretation, which meant that you're going to have to save for the years of abundance, for the years of famine, and that the only way you're going to survive is not through getting from other countries and all of that. The way you're going to survive is by saving from the years of the abundance. Perhaps the years of the abundance came for the years of famine, and therefore save for them. And of course, the Ramban adds that Yosef was smart, and he had in mind, and we have to understand Yosef in general. Yosef, when he had his dreams and told his brothers his dreams, already when he was 17 years old, he knew that they were going to come true. He understood, he was in a high level, and he understood what was going on over here. He knew that his dreams were real dreams. And when he said them to his brothers, he wasn't saying it like just having a dream. He was saying it because he really believed that that was what was going to happen, and never changed that belief. And here, he just saw everything that happened to him until now. He saw that as part of Hashem's plan. And he knew that at the end of the day, these dreams were going to come true. And Yosef used this as a chance that Paro will appoint him as the one in charge, the one that is going to rule over Egypt. And then it will be the next step in his dreams coming true. So Yosef, it wasn't like it all just happened. He knew all along exactly what was happening. He understood. He didn't. It wasn't like it was in blind, like he didn't know what was going on over here. That's just for us to understand. And therefore Yosef gave this advice in this manner to Paro, and told him what to do, instead of just telling him, giving him simple advice and telling him, you need to save up food. But he told him exactly what to do in anticipation that Paro is going to appoint Yosef as this ruler. So that's what the Ramban says. I'm going to give a little bit of other explanations based on what the Malbim says. Now, the Malbim first points out something interesting that it says in this week's Parsha. It says, Ufaroi cholem, and Paro dreamt. It doesn't say, like you would normally say, Vayachloim Paroi, dreamt Paro, the way you would say it in Hebrew. It says, Ufaroi cholem. In other words, it's telling us the contrast of the ministers, that their dreams didn't help Yosef get out of jail. But Paro's dream, Ufaroi cholem, when Paro dreamt, then it was then it helped Yosef get out of jail. Another explanation he brings based on the Midrash that Pharaoh chalim, it's as if Paro dreams. Only Paro dreams, the Midrash asks. You see, if you'd say Vayachloim Paroi and dreamt Paro, it would mean that it happened to be that this time Paro dreamt. But Pharaoh chalim, in other words, Paro is the one that dreams and no one else. So the Midrash asks this question. The Midrash says, no, but when Paro dreams, it's a overall dream. It's like, it's an important dream. It's a dream for on a national level, and therefore it's as if he's the only type of person that has a dream for that, because Pharaoh was the ruler he was a ruler for Egypt, which already makes his dreams international, or not international, but national. But because he was a ruler of the world basically in that time, so it makes an international level dream, and therefore it was a dream in a certain way for the whole world almost. And certainly the areas around Egypt. And that part of the dream, we'll see from the dream that basically that the famine was going to be in all the lands, including Egypt, but the abundance was only going to be in the land of Egypt. And I think we see this because it comes from the river. The abundance comes from the river and from Egypt. The famine, although the cows come out of the river, it's just a result of the lack of food and all of that everywhere, including Egypt. That even Egypt gets affected. We could see it. We could see it in the language. I'm not going to point it out. I don't have too much more time. But the Malbim points out also that the second dream Paro had was almost an interpretation, and it was very clear. Now everyone else, because the second dream he had was wheat, and that basically shows you both of the dreams together give you a clear picture of what's going on, because the Nile was where all their abundance came from, all their food. The cows is a interpretation of planting and plowing, which they use cows for, and then the wheat is an interpretation of the results of that, which is, what grows, the wheat. So basically it's telling us very clear what's going on over here. So, and it was interpretation, but because the Khartoumim did a few mistakes. The ones that tried interpreting, the wise people that tried interpreting it for Paro, this dream for Paro, they did a few mistakes. So when Yosef starts interpreting this dream to Paro, for Paro, he explains the reason all the Khartoumei Mitzrayim and the Chachamim were not able to interpret the dream. First he said that the dream was one dream. It's one dream. And Paro understood it as one dream also, and therefore he wasn't satisfied by the Khartoumim's interpretations. That's why the first thing Yosef says, Vayomer Yosef el Parah, Yosef said to Paro, Chalom Parah echad, the dream of Paro is one. Es asher Elohim oseh higid leFaro, what Hashem is doing, he told Paro. And this was the second thing that the interpreters got wrong, that they said it was an individual thing just for Paro, these dreams were. But Yosef said, no, what Hashem is doing, he told Paro, because Paro was a ruler for many nations, and therefore this was over a international dream, and that's why it was told to Paro. And thirdly, and this is also from the same words, what Hashem is doing, he told Paro, meaning Hashem is not giving you all these hints and mishalim, parables and all of that. Hashem is telling you, Pashut, understanding. The dream is the interpretation of what Hashem was saying. So, in other words, it's very simple. We see everything, like I said before, we see everything from the dreams, what it meant, and that's exactly what it meant, and not like the Khartoumim wanted to explain it in all these mishalim, parables, and chidas, hints, and all of that. That's not what it was. It's simple, because Hashem was telling Paro what he was doing. He wasn't giving him a hint and all of that. So those are the three reasons the Khartoumim, the wise people of Paro, and the sorcerers and all of them couldn't interpret these dreams. And because we'll see that they understood a lot of things they would do. What they would do is they wouldn't interpret based on the dream a lot of times. They'd interpret about the scenarios around it a lot of times, and the day, and all of that. And we'll see, and that's why we're going to see that Yosef was special in interpreting dreams. But okay. Now the Malbim explains Yosef's advice in this way, and I'll read the psukim and explain them based on the Malbim. So there are a few ways of understanding how to rule things. So some people say, the best is one person should rule everything. And other people say, no, a lot of individual people should rule every certain aspects. And that way, everyone, gets expertise in that field. And both of them have their, problems. One is if one rules everything, he's not good at everything. And if he's corrupt, also it's a problem. But when every single person rules their own thing, then there's no one to look and see the overall picture and to keep everyone in the right direction. And people could also, become corrupt and all of that. But the best way is to have people underneath you, and that each one has their individual thing they focus on, and then there's the one that has the overall focus, and he makes sure the ones underneath him are staying aligned with this overall focus, but he just keeps the overall focus and makes sure the individual people that are under him go and take care of the individual aspects of ruling a country or whatever it is. So Yosef says to Paro, you should see a man Navan v'chacham, and you should make him on the land of Egypt. Yosef Paro should do cause that this person will appoint ministers, and then he should use. So then there should be two aspects. One is that he should be this person that is in charge should take care to fifth the land, take a fifth of the food of the 7 years of abundance, and then these ministers should gather all the food of the next years, and they should put them in different houses or different storage houses around Egypt. Every city should have their own storage house, and these are the things that every individual minister should take care of. And Yosef, or whoever is going to be the one in charge, would take care of the overall main storage facility that would be mainly to gain wealth for the kingdom and for Pharaoh and for other nations that came to ask for food, other people from other lands. And then there would be, these ministers to take care of Egypt in general, every single city and all of that, and make sure they have food for the next, for the 7 years of famine. So that's basically the idea over here. Now, the next thing is, we spoke about that this Parsha speaks about is Yosef's brothers coming. And it says, Yosef Vayar Yosef Esachav. Yosef saw his brothers Vayakirem, and he recognized them. Vayitnaker Alehem, and he acted like a foreigner to them. And he spoke to them harshly. Vayomer Alehem, and he said, where did you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to get provisions. Yosef recognized his brothers, and they didn't recognize him. And Yosef remembered his dreams. Vayiskor Yosef Esachalam lahem. And then he said, you are spies. So the Rashi says he remembered his dreams, and therefore he said, you are spies. He remembered his dreams, not therefore he said, but he remembered his dreams, and he realized that they came to happen, meaning he was like, oh, these were the dreams that I dreamt, and they came to pass because now you're coming to bow down to me. And the Ramban says that this is the opposite. He remembered his dreams, and he realized none of them came to pass, and therefore he decided to make them all cause to pass. And if that wasn't the case, why didn't Yosef send a message to Yaakov already to tell him that he was in Egypt? And why did he give so much pain to his brothers and to Yaakov, his father? But Yosef, this was all in his wisdom to try to make the dream, his dreams happen. And first he needed Binyamin to come with the brothers and to bow down to him. Now when that dream happened, he could have revealed himself straight away when they already came, but he decided first to test them to see how much they liked Binyamin. And to see, so right after he accepted them and said, yes, now I realize that you're saying the truth and all of that, because Binyamin came and bowed down, then he hid his goblet in Binyamin's sack to cause this to see how strongly they'll defend him, and see if they change their mind about what they did with Yosef, with him. And then after that, he revealed himself to them, told them who he was, and then Yaakov came with all his family and bowed down, and that's when the second dream came true. The Malbim says a little bit different. He says he remembered his dreams, and then he realized that now that the first dream is happening now. And what was well, not the first dream, the first part of the first dream. There's three aspects to the dream. There's the first part of the first dream, which was that, behold, my sheaf stood up and stood strongly, meaning that he would become strong and rule over the brothers in strength, and that was happening now. And then they would bow down, and now for bowing down, it was all the brothers, so you'd have to have all the brothers. And even though also for the ruling it was all the brothers, I think the ruling was more for the overall, and because most of them were there, it was already ruled. He was ruling over them in strength, and he would do that also when Binyamin came. Well, not really, but okay, but that. But anyhow, the second part of the dream would happen when the Binyamin came, and therefore he caused that to happen. And then after that, of course, he did the test with the goblet, which I assume he would explain the same reason as the Ramban, that he wanted to test to see how much they loved Binyamin. And then he told he told them who he was, and his father came down, and the second dream came true. So that's it for this week. And so have a good Shabbos, and remember, if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, and give a comment of anything interesting you have, or disagreement, agreement, whatever it is. Please help us grow this channel. Have a good Shabbos.